now?
Yes, it's audible.
Yes. Shall I start now?
Yeah, Narasimha, please.
Okay. The morning topic is exceptions, right? Before that, you need to know how the functions is working, right? What is meant by a function and how the functions is working. We already discussed about that. What is meant by a function? Function is nothing but a block of code, right, which is used to execute a particular task, right? But now we need to write a looping concepts into a function, looping into functions. That is called recursion. Basically, the recursion is nothing but when a function call itself is known as recursion. Recursion is nothing but a function call itself. Function calls itself is nothing but it's a recursion. Recursion works like a loop, but sometimes it makes more sense to use recursion than the loop. For example, you are using a while loop or for loop, whatever the loop you are using, but a recursion function, you are giving a particular definition to the function. Oh, I am calling this function this number of times. Okay, that is give more sense to your programming. But you have to notice that the function call itself is nothing but when we need to end the function. That is very important. That condition is nothing but a base condition. Means the function call itself, but you need to end a particular calling a function itself by using some condition. That condition is nothing but base condition. What is this? Base condition. Base condition is nothing but it is the main condition statement used to exit from recursion. If you are not giving any base condition, then what happens? Then the recursion is nothing but it calls itself. It's calling again and again and again and again. Your same functionality, I mean same function, right? The recursive function is nothing but a recursive function calls itself, but as you have to imagine, such a process would like to repeat infinitely if not stopped by some condition, right or not? If the condition is not present, for example, I want to print I equal to 1 to n, but where I need to exit, I don't know where I will end it, right? So for that conditions, for example, I want to print 1 to 10, then if condition is 10, then I want to come out from the loop. Okay, that type of things, that type of condition basis is nothing but base condition, right? Now let's see one small example. Okay, what now? Factorial. Right? A factorial of number. How factorial will come? Basically, fact equal to 1, right? For I in a range of 1 to 5, sorry, 1 to 6. I want to find out the factorial of given number 1 to 6, and then fact equal to fact into I. Fact equal to fact into I, then print this statement. Print fact. This by using normal fact function, right? In Python factorial, you have a default function like factorial also. You can use it. Built-in methods also. But I'm telling that without using a built-in method, right? Now let's remember that one. I want to convert this function, right? I want to convert this function into recursive function, right? I want to convert this functionality into recursive function. That's let's write a program like a division. Right. Definition of fact of n. Definition. I'm writing definition fact of n. If n becomes 0, I want to come out from the loop. I want to come out from the loop, or otherwise I want to return 1. Right. Now, else return, I'm returning the value n into fact of n minus 1, right? N minus 1. Now I am printing the fact, print of 0. If I am giving 0, I mean fact of 0, then what happened, right? Next, print fact of 5. Let's see what output will come. Fine. Now let's trace the program, how it works. Right. First, I'm giving fact of 0. Fact of 0. Okay, fine. N is 0. It comes inside the loop. Okay. N is holding the value 0. 0 equal to 0. The condition is 2. It returns only 1. So it prints 1. Right. At the same time, I'm giving fact of 5. Clear? Fact of 5 in the sense, the 5 is a parameter for fact. It goes 5. N equal to 0. No, its condition is wrong. It goes to else statement. Okay. Return n into fact of n minus 1. Fact of n minus 1. The meaning is fact of n minus 1. N minus 1 in the sense, the n value is here 5. The n value is here 5. 5 into fact of n minus 1. What is n minus 1 value? That is 4. Again it's calling the 4. Again it's calling fact of 4. Means that again it's going to fact, right? The 4 equal to 0. No, it's wrong. So it comes to else statement. Return n into, what is now n value? N value is 4. 4 into fact of n minus 1 is 3. Again it goes to fact of 3. Fact is a function and then 3 is a parameter. Again it goes back and then again it calls a function fact, and then again 3 equal to 0. No, it's wrong, and then it returns 1. Sorry, it's wrong, and then it comes to else statement and return again 3 into fact of 2. Fact of 2. Why? Because n minus 1 again. Okay, then again fact is called again it comes to 2 into fact of 1. The next iteration it will come 1 into fact of 0. Fact of 0. What is the value fact of 0? The fact of 0 becomes 1. 1 into 1, 1. The before iteration it takes 2 into fact of 1. What is the fact of 1 value? That is 1. 2 into 1, here it becomes 2. Right? The fact of 2 value. What is this? Fact of 2 value 2. Sorry. Fact of 2 value. Here the fact of 2 value, that is 2, and then it comes back. Then the fact of 2 into 3. Right. 2 into 3. 6. The fact of 3 value, that is 6. Right. 6 into 4. 6 4s are 24. and then fact of 4 value is 24 into fact of 5 value into 5, sorry, n equal to 5, right? 5 is 120. Clear? At last it returns the value like 120. It returns the value 120 here. Yes, am I clear now? Right. Now, if you give a more number of iterations, for example, I am giving here 5. Now I want to give a more number of iterations. Let's write a program div, same program I am writing, of n. If n equal to 0, return 1, else return n into fact of n minus 1, then now I'm giving so many iterations. Let's print. If I am giving 5, fact of 5, what is the output? We already get 120. Okay, fine. Print of, I'm getting the value like 50,000. Okay, 50,000 I am giving. Then let's check what is the output. Yes, see here, maximum recursion depth is exceeded. Okay, let I am giving that 5,000. Yes, maximum depth is exceed. Now I am giving 500. Yes. Okay, 500 is this one. Now we need the default system library set the recursion limit, as 3000. Let's give 3000. What it will happen? The maximum. Yes, it is also the maximum recursion depth is exceeded. Now let's set the limit of recursion. Now for this one, I'm just importing system library, and then system dot set recursion limit of, I'm giving this recursion limit is 2000 or 200. I'm giving like 200. Let's check. I'm giving recursion limit is 200. See here. In previous, what happened? The 500 you got a value, but now 200 you didn't get. Why? Because I'm setting the recursion limit as 200. Why? Because maximum 200 times means less than 200 times the recursion will allow to this function. It is a system library. The set recursion limit function is present in system library. We have to import that system library, and then you need to call like this system dot set recursion limit of the number, how many times you want to repeat the function, right? This is recursion. And then one more thing, in some cases, for example, if you take Flipkart or Snapdeal, whatever the online e-commerce websites, some functionalities are written in Python, right or not? Absolutely. But in that cases, or otherwise, if any programming languages, if recursion is used, then what happens? If you you are not giving the base function, you are not giving a base when you will get out, then see here, the maximum recursion depth is exceed. Why? Because it repeats n number of times. It repeats n number of times. The function don't know when it exits from, the cursor, when it out from the function. Yes. Sorry. Okay, fine. Now you understand that what is recursion. And then we are talking about e-commerce website, right? In e-commerce website, what happened in the sense, if you are writing a large programs, right? If you are writing a large programs or complex programs, even if you are not giving a base function, then the whole functionality of your program will collapse. Otherwise, in some cases, the server will also down for some more. You know, you are seeing that 503 error or something of errors, the server down errors. It might be for this type of recursion functions also. So please take care of before writing a recursion function, you need to know that where to stop. Okay. Now let's start with the actual Python. Python is an object-oriented programming language, right or not? But you need to know what is meant by object-oriented and then what is meant by object-based. There is two types of programming strategies. That is, one is object-oriented programming and then procedural-oriented programming, object-based programming, MVC models or something other. But we are focusing on only OOP and OBP. Right? What is OOP? Object-oriented programming language means that you can able to create an object, you can able to destroy an object, you can able to update an object, and you can do anything with only the objects. That is object-oriented programming languages. But what is object-based programming? Object-based programming means the name itself refers what is object-based. Object-based in the sense based on the object only you can work. You can't able to create a new object. You can only extend the object and you can work what you want. Clear? Now, what are the terminologies present in object-oriented programming? Before that, what are the different languages present? Object-oriented programming and object-based programming. Basically, we know object-oriented programming is nothing but C++, Java, Python, or Ruby, some others. But object-based programming languages, scripting languages, that is JavaScript, Python script, VB script, these and all object-based programming languages. But in new versions of developing, they are also coming into the object-oriented plus object-based. They are concatenating both terminology, both strategies into together, and then they are developing it. Apart from our syllabus, that is right. Okay. What is object-oriented programming terminologies? The terminology is nothing but the words you have to remember before writing object-oriented programming languages. Right. What is it? One is object. What is an object? Right. Object is nothing but it's an entity. It's an entity which is used. We can call it as real world entity. Real world entity which is differ from other. Which is differ from other. This is one definition. Right? What is this object? Object is nothing but it's a real world entity. Is it nothing but anything or any? Is nothing but anything which you can see and touch. Right? The normal definition is that one only. But each and everything is differ from others. For example, I am taking one pen and then I am taking some other notebook. Okay, two is different objects, but is it same? No, right? It's a difference. But pens are the same. Okay, pens are the same. The behavior of pens are same. The behavior of notebook is same. Got it or not? That is the difference, right? Now, and then one more thing. Anything that provides a way to locate, access, modify, and secure data. We have one more definition also. Anything that provides a way to locate, comma access, comma modify, and secure data. Secure data. In Python, the object is nothing but object mean by anything. Anything is nothing but it's like a variable. It's like a class. It's like something module. It's like a function. Anything we call it as an object in Python. But it's anything that provides a way to locate the data. For example, if you can take a variable is an object, right? It holds, that means it's locate the data. It's locate the data where the data is there, right? We already discussed it. Variable is nothing but it holds the reference of the variable, right? Means that it locates the variable. It locates the variable from how from where it is, right? Now, what is access of data? Access of data, access and modifiers of data is nothing but, for example, if you take a definitions, we can able to access wherever you want if you declared it, if you defined already, right? That is the access of data. Its availability is more, that is object. And then modify, you can able to modify the data, and then secure the data. Secure the data in the sense by using object, you can provide a security for the data. You can provide security for the data. For example, if you have one class is there, one class, for example, ECE or CSE. ECE and CSE, two different sections is there. Okay, that is a class, and then each and every student is nothing but an object. Each and every student are having different behavior, and then he has maintains his own data, that is nodes or something other else materials. So maintains their own data. That means they are securing their data. They are securing their data. It's a best example for an object, right? Now, what is mean by a 4b5? Please mute yourself. Four B5. Can you please mute yourself? Yes, thank you. Now, where we are? Yes. Now, what is object? Yes, we cleared, right? Object is nothing but it's a real world entity which is different from other. Okay, fine. It's a normal example. But if you attend any interview, you have to tell like this. Object is nothing but anything that provides a way to locate, access, and modify and secure data. Right. Now, next one, coming to class. What is mean by class? I already told ECE or CSE, two different classes is there, right? Each and every class consists of different objects. Each and every class consists of different objects. That is nothing but, normally we can say it's a collection of objects, or instance of objects, right? This is a normal definition, but for interview preparation, you have to tell like that, a description of what data is accessible through a particular kind of object and how the data may be accessed. It means that a description of what data. For example, a class consists of different types of objects, different students. For example, if you select some student, what data they will get? They will get only CSC data, right? If for example, I'm taking CSC classroom and then I just picked up one student and then I'm asking about what are the subjects you have, right? They are telling the student has to tell only the CSC class subjects only, not other kind of data, that means not other subjects. So a description of what data is through a particular kind of particular kind of object, particular kind of object, and how that data may accessed. Clear? That is class. Class is nothing but it's a cluster of an object. It's a cluster of an objects of same behavior. Just remember that it's a cluster of an objects of same behavior. Right. Now, what is mean by abstraction? What is mean by abstraction? Abstraction is nothing but it is an act of representing essential futures without giving background details. Right. What is this? It is an act of representing. Abstraction is nothing but it is a mechanism of representing the essential futures without giving the background details. For example, if you have a compiler, if you have a command line interpreter in Python, if you give 2 plus 2, then what happens? It takes the 2 plus 2 as an input and then it displays only 4. Clear? It displays only 4, but it not shows how the process is happening in background, how the process is happening, right or not? That is called abstraction. The best example is, for example, if you go to car showroom or if you go to mobile showroom, whatever it may be, you are just seeing that what type of mobile it is, and then what is the color of a mobile, and then what is the RAM, and what is the how the hard disk contains, that is memory contains, and then how the bandwidth is there, and then how the Wi-Fi connection is there. You are seeing these features only, but you are not seeing how the PCB is working, right? How the PCB is working inside the mobile, as same well as car also. You are not showing how the clutch plates is working, how the brake section is working, how the exhaust is working, right? Just you are seeing the features of a body of the car, otherwise features of your mobile, not background details, That is abstraction. Means that it focuses on what should be hidden. What should be hidden? It's very important in future in object oriented programming. Why? Because you have to give access to a particular member in particular functionality only, right? You are not giving all the functionality to all the members. Why? Because the admin has a different functionalities, the student has a different functionalities, and then the faculty has a different functionalities. If you have any example, right? Now, what is inheritance? Inheritance is nothing but it's acquires a property from super to sub. It acquires the property from super class to subclass, or parent to child, or base to derivative, whatever it may be, how we can call it, up to you, right? It acquires the property from superclass to subclass. Now, what is this? If you define one functionality already you defined one functionality. Let's take a real-time example. As a fresher, you joined some company, and then the company members already they are working, right? They are working on some big project. Okay, they already built some functions and our functionalities by using classes, but you have to add one more functionality to the classes. For that purpose, you no need to write all the functionalities where they are already defined. Just you are extending the functionality to the next level, to the next level. For example, for the apps designing, what I'm just 0.1 version of app and then 0.2 version, 0.3 version means that 0.1 is the base class and then 0.2 is a sub applications. Why? Because you are adding some features to existing one. Clear? That is inheritance. Inheritance used in that type of use cases. Right. Now, how we can tell in interviews or how they can ask, right? That the way in which existing classes of object can be upgraded to provide additional data, or methods. Right, you have to tell like this. Right, the next one, what is encapsulation? Encapsulation is nothing but it's a wrapping up of a data and code. Right, what is data and what is code? Actually, the data is nothing but you are giving the values to the variable or values to the methods. That is nothing but a data. Clear? Here the data is nothing but you are giving a values to the variable or identifiers or methods is nothing but a data. What is code? Code in the sense the process of data is nothing but code. The processing of data is code. The processing of data is code. Right. You are combining both data and method. The best example is your class. Clear? Now it's how we can say in different ways. It's separate what from the how. It separates what from how. Means that what in the sense it's an abstraction. What data should be hidden, that is abstraction. How the data is hidden, the encapsulation will tell. Okay, how the data is hidden, should be hidden, that tells by encapsulation. Just remember this one. It separates what from how. Next, what is polymorphism? Polymorphism in the sense the ability to take more than one type of data, or the ability to take more than one parameters or more than one behaviors, whatever it may be. Right, the ability to take more than one behavior, that is called polymorphism. Poly means many and then morphism means forms. The ability to take many forms. That is nothing but polymorphism. And then the way that distinct object can respond differentially from the same message depending on the class belongs to. It's very important line. The way that distinct objects can respond differently to the same message. depending on the class belongs to. For example, you are going to you went to the market and then somebody is calling you. Then what happened? Just you are turn around and saying who are the calling, who is calling me, right? Means that you are going for some other work, but according to the situations, your response is different. According to a situation, your response is different. For example, somebody has assigned some work. If you are in a correct mood, then you can work well. Otherwise, okay, fine, let I do some time, right? That type of behavior changing according to a situation is nothing but polymorphism. Why? The student is only one person, and then one person can do different types of functionality. Let us take a best example. A classroom, everything is an object. An object can do different functionalities. Means one student can learn 5 different subjects. One student can learn 5 different subjects, and then the 5 different subject has different behaviors and different types of topics or something else, right? That is nothing but polymorphism. Am I clear now? Any doubts regarding object-oriented programming terminologies? Any doubts? No. Let's see how we will create a class and objects and instant method. Now we can see what is meant by a method. What is meant by a method? Method is nothing but a processed object. A processed object is nothing but method. Means that it holds some functionality. It holds some functionality, right? And then if you can call by using object, you can call by using object. Let's see how you can define a function. Sorry, define a class. Let's write a syntax. Let's write a syntax. Syntax of defining classes. Class is a keyword, space, class name, colon, right? Class name, colon, and then it is starting of the block, and then your instance variable, instance. So this is the static variables. Here you can define the instance method. Instance methods like definition, show, for example, I'm giving, and then here your statements. Yes. Now let's write a program. I want to create a class for a student. I want to create a class for a student. I want to get a data student roll number and then student name. That's a very simple program. That's right how it can definition. Sorry, class is a keyword. I'm creating class. Class name is a student. Class name should start with a capital letter. Just remember that one. Right now, I'm giving the function like definition set roll number of self comma sorry, I'll write a simple example. Show print of hello, I am a student. Hello, I am a student. Just I am writing it. Function. Right. Now let's create an object. Let's create an object. Means that whenever you are creating a class, you don't have any driver to drive this particular class towards execution. Just remember that one. See here, you will not get any output and then any error. Why? Because it does not create any memory in a memory location. It does not create any memory in the memory location. When it will create a memory in memory location, whenever you are creating an object, then the class can create an object and class can start working. Let's see, object equal to student. Object equal to student. I'm giving parenthesis. Parenthesis is for constructor. Here the student is nothing but constructor. It's not a class name, it's a constructor. Let's execute this one. What will happen? Right. Now I created the memory location of class for the class. Okay. I want to call. Let's see. Class. This is the class. It's a memory location for the class. I created the object. Right. Now the object is pointing the class student. Right. Object is pointing the class student. Now this student class consists of the method like show. Method show. Clear how the memory is occupied. Whenever you are creating an object, it creates a memory. It creates a memory for student class, and then that class contains the different methods in this memory location. These different methods in this memory location. If you are not calling or if you are not creating an object, the object will not create. Right? Object will not create. Memory will not create for the class. I'm writing this. I am writing here. I created object. It refers the student class. Okay. Now it referring the student, but why it's not printing? Why it's not printing anything? I wrote already some statement, right? Why means you have to call the method inside your class. By using your reference. Right? Let's check how it can be. Object dot show. I'm giving. Object dot show. Let's see the output. See here. Show takes 0 positional arguments, but it was 1. Let's check. I'm giving self here. Yes, it's printing. I'm a student. But here, what is mean by a self? Right? We'll discuss it about in later coming 5 minutes. Right. Now, what are the different special methods consists of class? Means there are there are different special methods like str and init. Here there is no constructor in Python. There is no constructor concept in Python. Okay, but they are saying that constructor overloading and something like, but there is no constructor concept. It's a built-in method that is init. Right. The special method is init. comma dict right. So many methods is there. Let's discuss about only two now, right? Set and get methods. Now what are the special methods? Init and dictionary. Let's write a code for this one. Definition, I'm writing a class again, student, right? Student. Here it creates a memory for the object, creates for memory for student, right? The student consists of show. You need to call the show method, right? But by using init method, whenever you are creating an object, then the init method automatically called the initialization method. Init is nothing but the initialization method, right? Init of self, right? Self, and then here I'm writing something print initialized, right? Now I'm writing one more method like show of self. Here I'm printing show method, right? Let's execute this. I already told that class, sorry, this is class, not definition. Yes, the class consists of no memory. It does not create a meaning unless you are creating an object, right? Now I'm creating object equal to object name, whatever the name you can give. I am giving student, stu equal to student, right? Just I created an object. Let's execute this one. Sorry, I gave a mistake. Yes, not executing. I am initializing. Yes, here I am initializing. What is happening here? Whenever you are creating an object, it refers the init method. Just it checks for what some data is initialized whenever you are creating an object, right? Here let's see, here student is a class, and then stu is an object for student. That is initialization. The same concept will treat it as a constructor, right? Now the dict method, later example we will learn about that. Now what is set and get methods? For example, if you write any real-time projects, or otherwise if you want to attend a Infosys examination, you must know about set and get methods. It's very important to the Infosys examination, right? Now what is set and get method? Set and get method is nothing but it's just a user-defined function. But it is a norm for Python developers to get and set the data to the variables, to set and data to for the variables. Let's write a simple program. What is set and get? Right, set and get method. Let's see. I'm defining class student, Here I'm writing set, definition. Okay, initialization we will give later. Definition set roll number. Definition set roll number of self. That's right. Self dot roll number equal to register number. Right. Now it has a two parameters, self and registration number, and then defining get roll number of self. We are not providing any parameters. Why? Because we are just getting the data, right? It's for initializing a data. Now return self dot roll number. Self dot roll number. The same time I'm giving like definition get roll number, get name. I'm first setting up name of self comma name. Self comma name I am giving. Just I'm printing the self dot name equal to name. Self dot name equal to name. Next time definition get name of self. Get name of self. Return self dot name. Self dot name. This is a class. This is class I am writing. So I want to call an object. I want to call this class by using an object. I'm creating object student1. I'm creating object student1 equal to student, right? The same point of time object student1 dot set roll number of, here you can give the roll number like 17Z01A0 something 401. Okay, whatever the data. Now again object student1 dot set name. Set name is Mickey. Now you need to print the data. You need to print this data. So I'm just printing print of object student1 dot, what is get underscore roll number. Get underscore roll number I am giving. The same thing I am writing for name also. Let's execute this one. Sorry, S is a capital letter. See here what it is coming. Here the first one it prints a roll number. The second one it prints an object. It prints a memory location. So I'm here. I gave get name. I gave get name. Right. First one is the roll number. And I'm giving name. Fine. What is the difference between functional oriented and object oriented programming? Is nothing but if you define one class by using object, you can call that particular class number of times. But in functional oriented, you have to write these definitions for each of the student. If you have a 60 students in one class, for 60 students you have to write all the data. But here you can write only 3 lines in 60 times. Sorry, that 2 lines is 60 times to set and data, to set the data, and for getting the data, and again 2 lines. Totally the 4 lines of code you are writing is 60 times. Clear? To overcome this one, you are the list and some dictionaries is right. Now in big project, let us consider a big project, a big program. Yesterday we were giving, right, the big programs. But in that programs, what happened? You have to give the initialization is mandatory. You have to give the initializations. Why? Because you are only the developer. You are developing some project or some code. You know what are the different variables present in initialization. Clear? What are the different variables present in initialization? But I don't know. Why? Because I am a newcomer, but I don't know what are the different variables you are using. So for that thing, I am defining, right? I'm defining initialization. I'm defining initialization. Let's execute the same code with the definition initialization of self dot roll number equal to none, and then self dot name equal to none. Just I'm giving like this. Let's see. Right, no error. Now whenever I am calling, it sets the data. It sets the data. I want to know what are the different variables present in a class. Let's check it once. It will work out or not. Print of object stu1 dot double underscore dict, double underscore dict. Let's try this one. Sorry, I gave one. Fine. Here the object is not callable. Object is not callable. Why? Because I'm not giving here. Let's see here. I'm not using any variables here. Let's write instance class. I'm giving gh equal to 10. Let's write is that any attribute present? No attribute present here. The dictionary, the dict is a method, right? Dict is a method which is used to call, which is used to display or used to get the whatever data and values present in a particular object by dictionary. Right. Next one. Here self I'm writing. I wrote here self. Each and every place I'm writing self. But what is meant by self? Self is nothing but it is like a this pointer in Java. It's like a this pointer in Java. It refers the current object, but it's wrong definition. Why? Because the self is not a keyword. That this is a keyword in Java, but here the self is not not a keyword. What is self? Self is not a keyword. It's just a variable. It's a self is a variable. Self is a variable. But why that variable is used for? Means the instance method takes that first parameter as object. Remember the the instance method takes first parameter as an object. Now, why we are using self? Only self is nothing but it's a norm from Python Developer Society. It's a norms from Python Developer Society. It instructs across the world. You common name you have to use like self. Common name you have to use like self. Let's try. I'm not giving self, but I'm using something, right? Let's try this one. Right, I'm not giving self, but I'm giving some other thing. So let's initialize. Yes, C I am giving. Yes, E I am giving. Let's check what is happening. See, no error is coming. Because the self, the word is not mandatory. You can give any other name in the place of self, but you are giving, or every Python developer giving only self. Why? Because it's a norm from Python Association. Why? Because you are using you have to use only one pattern to define an object in instance methods. That is their order, right? Now, why the first variable is needed? It's the first variable. Okay, from the second variable only it takes the input. See here, set number. I am passing only one parameter, but here it is two parameters. Like this parameter holds the registration number, and then this one holds a name. But why first parameter requires? Why first parameter requires is nothing but it is for object. It refers that object. Right. Object stu1 dot student1 you are giving. Object 1 is stored in self, and then you are giving a parameter stored in name. Why this object is needed? Means the program can understand, or Python compiler can understand, okay, the particular name you have to store for that particular class. What is a class? Class is a class identification by using only object. So by using object, it identifies the class. Okay, class. That class consists of an object, right? That object name, object has a variable like name. You have to store this name to that particular name variable. Clear? Right. The next one, that is about self keyword. So for your reference, I'm giving like this only. Right. Here it's very important. What is bound and unbound method invocations? What is bound and unbound method invocations in Python? There are two types of method invocation. Invocations is nothing but your calling method. Calling methods are two types of method, two types of calling. One is bound and second one is unbound method invocations. What is bound invocation? How it will be called? Means the syntax for bound is bound method invocation is class name dot method of object. That is syntax for unbound method invocation. So the unbound method invocation. Class name dot method. Here you are not giving any object. Let's check for this one. Right? Here you was using an object, right? Now student dot get roll number of object student 1. Object student 1 I am giving. What is the class name? Class name is student. Unbound method invocation. Let's check what is an out. Yes, it's coming output roll number. It's coming roll number. This is nothing but unbound method invocations. What is happening here? In the sense, one second please. Yes, here the student is a class. This class represent this one. Okay, now get roll number. The student class is having the get roll number. Okay, now what this object, where it goes? It goes to self. Clear? It goes to self. This is nothing but unbound method invocations. What is bound method invocation is nothing but by using object you are calling a method is nothing but bound method invocation. This is bound method invocation. It's very important bit. What is the difference between unbound and bound method invocations? You can get in InfyTQ programs, you can get both bound and unbound method invocations in an object creation or object method calling by using an object, right? Right. Okay. Now let's see one small InfyTQ problem. Okay, let us solve it. A university wants to automate their admission process. Students are admitted based on marks scored in qualifying exam. Okay, everybody is joining by using a scored in qualifying exam. Okay, a student is identifying by student ID, age, marks, and qualifying exam. Qualifying exam consists of student ID, age, and marks. Okay, data are valid if the age is greater than 20. Just understand that what is the question is. Age is greater than 20. If marks between 0 and 100 only. 0 and 100 only means 0 or 100 means the marks either a 0, either a 100, either between, not more than 100 or not less than 0. Okay. Now the student qualifies for admission if age and marks are valid and marks is 65 or more. Okay. If the 65 in qualifying exam, if they get 65 marks, they are qualified in the age and marks are matched. Right. Now continue with the previous scenario. A student eligible for admission has to choose a course and pay the fees for it. Okay, if they have scored more than 85 marks in qualified exam, they get 25% of discount. They get 25% of discount. Valid course ID and fees are given below. See here, 1001 is the course ID, and then this is the fees. Right? It's a valid. Means it's an example. Let's take like that. Right? Extend a program, return the previous assignment to include the above requirement. Previous assignment in the sense just this one on these conditions. Clear? Now, the business rules. What are the business rules? It's very important. Why? Because you all know about SRS document, software requirement specification document. If you already read that, it's very good. Otherwise, just remember this one. Why? Because the SRS document consists of these data only: the problem definition, and then what are the different classes and attributes you want to use in a particular program. Otherwise, they will specify the class diagram or object diagram. They can give the class or object diagrams. You have to write the program for it. Right. Now let's see. The class name should be the student, right? And then the attributes you can use like course ID, fees. Course ID, fees is two private attributes. These are private attributes. Okay. Methods are init method you can use. You can use it for init method. Init method is for initialization. Init method is for initialization. If you are initialize anything in init method, you have to write set get methods for init. You have to write set get methods for init. Okay. Create and initialize a newly created instance variable also to none. Also to none. Okay. Choose course ID. Accept the course ID by the given student. By the student. Fine. If the course is valid, set attributes course ID and fees. If marks is more than 80, 85, apply 25% of discount on fees. Return true, else return false. Clear? Getter methods include getter methods for newly added instance variable. Fine. Now let's see a program. For looking, program is very big, but it's very cool and very easy. Let's see. Just I am creating a class as the requirements. I created here already. A class is a student. Okay, we can use we are using the initialization. That is, initialization consists of double underscore student ID. Double underscore student ID. Just remember here that double underscore is used for private variables or private methods, right? A single underscore is used for protected, and then no underscore is used for public. No underscores is used for public variables and public methods. They said course ID and fees are private, and then age and remaining things also like private. They said like that, right? Now I'm taking that student ID as a private member, marks as a private, and then remaining things. Now I'm writing for each and everything set and get methods. Each and every variables set and get methods. Set student ID, I'm giving cell comma student ID, just I'm storing it to student ID. And then get method, I'm getting the data, it returns the value student ID, right? The marks also. Now let's come here, validate marks. You need to validate the marks. You need to validate the marks. Marks should be greater than or equal to 0 and then less than or equal to 100. Right? If the marks is valid, here, marks between 0 and 100. 0 and 100. So I'm giving 0 less than or sorry, marks is greater than or equal to 0 and less than or equal to 100. It returns true, otherwise it returns false. Okay. And then I'm writing for validate age. Age should be greater than 20. age should be greater than 20. Okay, it returns true or it returns false. Okay, let's check here. Check qualification. Check qualification. Qualification in the sense self that age and marks valid. Age and marks valid means that self dot validate age. Validate age consists of true or false, either true or false. If age is greater than 20, it returns true, otherwise false, right? And then validate marks. Marks is greater than or equal to 0 or less than or equal to 100, it's valid marks. Then if marks is greater than 65, the qualified marks is what? Greater than 65 is qualified marks in qualifying exam, right? Return true or return false. Okay, then now you have to choose the course. You have to choose the course. Means, let's see. Course. Are you getting my voice? Soumya Reddy, please mute your voice. 585, 5A5, I hope. Yes, please. Yes, here course ID. I'm giving just, I'm storing the course ID into course ID variable just for storing this one. Right, fees equal to fees. I'm taking fees. Each and every course consists of different fees. For example, BTech is one course. BTech is one course, and MCA is one course. MBA is one course, and different courses have different fees, right? So I'm defining different fees. Okay, the marks is greater than 85. The mark is greater than 85. Then I'm giving the discount 25%. I'm giving the discount 25%. How you calculate 25%? The total fee is into 25 by 100. The total fee into 20 by 100. I'm just subtracting total fees from discount fees. Total fees from, sorry, discount fees from total fees. Clear? And then I'm returns true. And then I'm returns true. Now the fees consists of the discounted fees. After discount, the total fees is this one. Right. The same thing I wrote for course 2 also. Now let's see. Maddie is a student. Maddie is a student. I'm giving Maddie is a name. Okay. Maddie is a student. Okay. Student that set student ID. Set student ID. Why? Because for example, in some registration pages or something, a 2-3 boxes is there. Sorry. Three boxes. One is for student ID, one is for age, one is for marks. Right. Student ID I gave here 1001. Right. Here age is 21 and the marks is 100. Marks is 100. Okay. Whenever I am giving and submitting this form, the user can get the user is qualified or not. The user is qualified or not. Let's check what is happening here. Yes. Now I'm checking. I'm setting this one. Set age. Set age in the sense it's going to set age method, and it's age set to 21. Fine. Now if Maddie dot check qualification, check qualification. Before that, I set all the data to the variables. So I called directly check qualification. Yes, qualified. Yes, true. It's true. Then the student has qualified. The student has qualified. And then MADI course of 1002. MADI course of 1002. Here, the course of 1002, that is true. Yes, course is allotted. Why? Because it has greater than 85, then it returns true. Right? So the course is allotted. Now I want to print MADI dot fees. Is it possible? Let's check. No. Why? Because, sorry. Yes. Let's check. Yes. Student has no attribute like fees. Student has no attribute like fees. Here the fees is there, but it telling like student has no attribute as fees. That is called, it's an private variable. It's a private variable. It gives up to that only. Right? Now I want to know what fees the MADI gets. What fees the MADI gets. The student ID is 1 or 2. It comes here, right? Now just I am giving print self dot fees. Self dot fees. See here. The MADI fees is 11625. Actually, I gave here 15500, but after discount of 25%, I am getting this fees. Okay, this is a simple program. This asked by NPTQ earlier. Right. Do you have any doubts regarding this program? If anybody has doubt, please put in chat box. Drop a message in chat box. Has anybody have a doubts regarding this problem? Remember this one, this type of problems will ask by NPTQ exams or any other competition exams. It has a 45 minutes time, and then each marks consists of 20 marks. 20 marks for this problem. Right. And then Kahoot quiz will activate in 4:35. Right, you have to submit the exam before 4:45, 4:50, and then submit in a canvas before 5:15. Okay, just remember this timings. Right, let us activate. And then one more thing, please fill feedback form before leaving the session. If you have any doubts, please drop in chat box. About quiz 2. Yes. The quiz is activated. And then please submit your assignment in a proper way. Don't upload PY files. Don't upload your PY files. Okay. Don't upload a Python files or TXT files or doc files. Sorry, upload only doc files with proper hyperlinks. Okay, proper hyperlinks. Please fill the feedback form before leaving the session. Do you have any doubts, guys?